I had never been the skeptical kind. Confidence was something I gave freely to my wife, Mary, because I believed she had merited it. We had been married for 7 years, shared a home and built a life together that I considered secure. But over the past few months, something had shifted. Late nights at the office, muted phone calls, and the new security code on her mobile. Small details that seemed minor. Alone, but together they created a mystery that felt wrong. I kept telling myself I was just overthinking it. I wanted to believe the woman I loved would not deceive me, but denial has a short lifespan. When the truth begins to surface, one night she declared she had a late meeting again. Her tone was casual, almost practiced. But that evening, something inside me refused to accept it. I waited until she departed, grabbed my car ignition key, and followed her from a distance. She did not drive to her workplace. She drove across the city to a hotel. I watched her exit the vehicle, check her reflection in the window, and smile before walking inside. That smile shattered something within me. I waited 10 minutes before I went inside, my pulse pounding like a drum. The hotel lobby was quiet, the type of silence that magnifies guilt. I asked the front desk for her room number, pretending I was her husband, meeting her there. When the door finally opened, the sight that met my eyes seared into my mind. Mary, partially dressed, standing next to a man I recognized immediately. It was Adam, my friend, someone who had shared meals, at our table played golf with me, and called me brother. For a moment, everything was frozen. The air, the light, the sound. Then came her gasp, his stammer, and my quiet, steady voice stating, "Do not bother explaining. You already have." I did not shout, did not weep. I simply turned and left. The quietness of my footsteps down that hallway felt louder than any disagreement could be. That night, I did not return to our house. I drove aimlessly for hours trying to figure out how to people I trusted the most could betray me like that. Anger was present, but beneath it was something, heavier disappointment, the kind that does not just hurt your heart, but drains your spirit. By the time I arrived home at dawn, I was not the same man who had left the night before. When Mary came home that morning, her confident mask had fallen apart. She attempted to speak, but I stopped her immediately. On the kitchen table sat an enveloped divorce documents I had prepared weeks ago when my suspicions had first started. Alongside it were printed photos from her phone messages I had quietly recovered from the cloud, and a note that simply read, "You made your decision last night. This is mine." She stared at the proof, her face pale. Realizing her web of falsehoods had finally collapsed, her world began to crumble quickly. Adam's wife found out. I ensured she saw the same evidence. His marriage ended within days, and his career suffered when his affair became public knowledge at work.com. Mary tried calling, texting, even showing up at my office, crying, apologizing, begging for a second chance. But her words meant nothing now. Once trust is broken, apologies become empty echoes of what was once affection. Over the following weeks, I watched her fall apart. Friends stopped calling her. Her family, angry and ashamed, kept their distance. She moved out of our residence, which I sold soon after. She had lost her job, her friends, her reputation, everything she had. Gambled for short-term excitement. I did not need to raise my voice or seek vengeance. The truth had done it for me. The life she had built on lies fell apart under its own weight. For me, rebuilding was not easy. The betrayal cut deep, but I refused to let it define me. I devoted myself to my work therapy and rediscovering the person I had been before the lies. Healing was slow, but with each sunrise, the pain lessened a little more. I learned to find peace in silence again, too. Trust my instincts, and to forgive. Not her, but myself, for being blind for so long. Months later, Mary contacted me one final time. She wanted closure, to apologize again, to say she still loved me. I met her in a cafe out of respect for what we once shared. She looked hollow, worn down by regret. I listened quietly until she asked, "Can we ever start anew?" I smiled gently and said, "We already did. You started over alone, and I did the same." Her eyes filled with tears, but I felt no anger, only closure. By morning, after that final meeting, I felt something I hadn't in months. Peace. Her world had collapsed from deceit. Mine had been reconstructed from truth. Sometimes losing someone you love is not a tragedy. It is freedom. Mary's choices destroyed her, but they freed me. I walked out of that cafe into the sunlight, lighter, stronger, and finally prepared for a future that was truly my own.